Hi guys, today I'll be reviewing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Man, when I first watched this movie when it came out, I was so blown away. Me and my brother both watched it. Yeah, it was awesome. And now we're at the point where we have a Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Man, we're living in good times. But yeah, before I do the review, I just want to remind you that I'll be doing shoutouts tomorrow. So I'll be doing shoutouts again. And maybe I'll actually stick with the single shoutout since I still haven't done them for a while. When I said I was gonna stick with them. Yeah. Also, what else? Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else to mention at the moment, but yeah, let's just get into the review. So yeah, this was definitely a great movie when I watched it back in 2018. And now we have the game. I can't wait to play that. That will either be at the end of the month or next month, but we'll see. And I still need to get those DLCs out of the way, so I'm definitely not starting the new Spider-Man game until I've done them DLCs because I ain't completed them. Yeah, I haven't got to try out all the suits from that game on DLCs of the PS4 Spider-Man game. But yeah, so yeah, this movie has such a unique premise, and for a lot of people, people like to say like, well, I've heard a few people say this, but people like to say this is the best Spider-Man movie. I guess including Nostalgia Critic, I think he says it's the best Spider-Man movie. If you're not counting live action, but when you think about it, like what other Spider-Man movies are there? Well, one like this though. But yeah, that's if you want to count it as like. But when I think of live action, Tobey's Spider-Man 2 is always going to be my favorite. Even though there's been about Spider-Man 1, which I love, it's just like, but Spider-Man 2 is just, you just got the whole, they had the true vibe of Spider-Man. And I kind of like what they do with this Spider-Man movie where you get to see a true mentor to Spider-Man, like someone who actually teaches him, which is cool. And it's actually another older Spider-Man teaching a younger Spider-Man, which is Miles Morales. And it's kind of cool that he didn't have to grow up without a teacher. Well, in the Spider-Man games, he's got Peter, but he's still kind of young. Or is he like? It's not close to the same age. I think is it like what age is Peter Parker in the Spider-Man PS4 game again? I can't remember. Was he like 23, 24? But yeah, this one's like in his late 30s, 40s. So he has plenty of experience. That's when he comes into his universe, because yeah, I need to cover all that stuff as well. Because yeah, he's just going about his everyday life, living life in high school. And this is the cool thing about Miles Morales' Spider-Man. He's like Hispanic and black, which is cool. So he can get on with all types of groups. It's just because this Spider-Man came after the death of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Comics, and straight afterwards, they just thought of this new Spider-Man, and it kind of feels like his own character at this point. Back then, I'm not really sure what people think. I'm not sure what people thought. Like, he's basically just another Spider-Man, but a few differences. But to me, he's kind of like his own character in a way now. At this point, well, they've done enough stuff for him to be his own character, and this movie just proves that he's definitely his own character. Yeah, I mean, we also have all these other spider people in the movie, which we'll talk about them later too. Also, we see, because I guess he doesn't really connect that much with his dad because his dad hates Spider Man. In a way, he's kind of like the Jameson of the movie, who hates Spider Man, but he's the main character's dad, so there's that connection. Yeah, and I don't know if anyone else has ever said that. Yeah, his dad's basically Jonah Jameson. He doesn't like Spider Man, but now his son's Spider Man now. Oh, yeah, I need to cover. Well, not yet, not yet. We'll get to that. Because since there's so many Spider Man, like, one actually, spoiler alert. Well, I don't know if I should say it now, so yeah, not spoiler alert yet. I'm not going to say it yet. When I get to that point. Yeah. But yeah, this is just a great Spider Man movie. Like, just the way how it was made, it's so amazing. It's like a comic book literally come to life. Well, not literally, obviously, not literally, but just the way how they done it, it's just amazing. It still feels like a comic book. You still see like those words, when you read a comic book and you see the words. Yeah, it definitely has that. It's just done so well. Definitely no other movie like it. Yeah, it's just perfectly made. They had a great team on this movie. Great actors and actresses. Just did a solid job. But yeah. So basically, he has an uncle who he kind of connects with, the most. His mom, I guess, he's okay with her, but the one who he truly connects with when it comes to his family is his uncle, Aaron. I guess Aaron and his dad, Miles Morales' dad, kind of had a fallout. And as the movie goes on, we can kind of see why. Like they viewed things differently, basically. But yeah, Miles Morales loved his uncle. Yeah, and then we also get that scene from his uncle. The hey scene. You know which one I'm talking about. Especially when we see it a few times out through the movie. And the best use of it is in, I guess, the Gwen Stacy scene, since Gwen Stacy's in this movie. Which is kind of like from a different, universe, since they all have these Spider-Mans from different universes, which, I'll get more into, when Miles Morales actually becomes Spider-Man. But yeah, so basically, with Aaron and his dad, like, I guess they used to be very close together. And I guess he used to do graffiti as well. But, he became more into following the rules, and I guess the uncle didn't really agree with that, and it's just he slowly went into a more darker path. And like I said, we'll talk about that later. But still, he at least stayed in touch with his nephew, which was nice because they have a great relationship. Also, it's played by the actor who's going to be the new Blade and who plays as Cottonmouth from Luke Cage, which is cool. Yeah, he was a good character, but we'll talk more about him later. Yeah. Well, there's still a scene where he actually becomes Spider-Man, Miles Morales. So yeah, his uncle basically takes him to a place where they can do graffiti without getting caught. And while they're doing graffiti, which wow, Miles Morales is really good at graffiti. He's very talented. You see his notebooks as well. Yeah, there's like a hidden spider, so the origins coming in. And they kind of reference, well, at the beginning they also reference the normal origin of Spider-Man, and as we keep seeing new Spider-Man come into the story, we see other origins, like for Gwen Stacy, for the Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham. Yeah, we basically see all their origin stories as they come into the movie. But yeah, he basically gets bit by the spider, and this one's definitely different from the one that the normal Spider-Man gets bit by, since this one gives him two abilities that the normal Spider-Man doesn't have, and that's like this kind of electric power, which Spider-Man Miles Morales is known for, and invisibility. But I wonder if that's in a Spider-Man game. I have no idea, since I haven't seen no one play it yet. I've seen gameplay, but I haven't seen no one play it, and I don't know if you can go invisible. I didn't even, because back then I didn't even know Spider-Man Miles Morales could go invisible. I kind of even forgot about that until I just rewatched it now, because yeah, I know about his electricity abilities, which is so cool, and it was cool to see that like in the gameplay reveal. Yeah, I'm just referencing the game a lot because yeah, it's very cool right now, and I can't wait to play it. But yeah, he basically gets bit by the spider, and it seems like he kills it as well. He just brushes it away, and then he just continues on with his uncle. And then when he goes to school next day, weird things start happening. And then we get that scene where he sees Gwen Stacy for the first time. But yeah, he's kind of really busy trying to keep up with school and stuff, and it is kind of getting to him. But yeah, then he eventually meets Gwen Stacy, which he did first see her in when he was late to class, and she was kind of laughing at something that he said, but it was just really silent. But yeah, because he was getting in trouble from a teacher, and then he tries to quote Einstein. But yeah, he basically sees her again in a hall, and then he tries to do that technique that his uncle taught him. When he goes, "Hey." Yeah, that's just a funny scene. I've seen that for the first time. Yeah. Yeah, he tries that on Gwen Stacy, but since he's starting to get his Spider-Man powers, also his roommate, it seems like he doesn't really pay attention to him. He just does his own thing. His roommate, Miles Morales' roommate. because it seems like he was in bed for like several days or something. It just, yeah, he was kind of a weird roommate. But we kind of get a funny scene with him later on, anyway, which I'll mention. I'll try not to forget. Yeah, when he does that technique, he tries to let go because it just gets really awkward. Then his hand gets stuck to Gwen Stacy's hair. then he rips it off, and yeah, yeah. There's a lot of times where he gets embarrassed because he does things that make him look embarrassed. And he just wants to fit in, basically. And pulling off someone's hair isn't really gonna help you fit in. It's gonna make you the weird kid, I guess. And that's how you just see people laughing at him. But yeah. And then there's the scene where a teacher's chasing him. Then he just goes into their office. Then you just man, you just hear that Spider-Man song playing. Yeah, that was funny. Spider-Man Christmas song, and we hear it at the end of the credits as well. They like to reference that a lot. Should I should play that for the holidays one time just for jokes, but I don't know if it's copyright. Yeah, unless I do it on Twitch or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, there's tons of references in this movie to other Spider-Men, especially the ones that are not in the movie. Well, we don't really reference Spectacular Spider-Man or the 90s Spider-Man, but definitely an older one, I'll say, especially at the end. Which I can't wait to talk about that. That's just like the funny scene in the movie. Yeah, definitely the funny scene. And it's right at the end as well. The second funny scene is definitely the scene where he goes, "Hey." Okay, I don't know which is funnier. The scene where he's doing it with his uncle or the Gwen Stacy scene when he does it to her. Lol. Because it's just like so awkward when he does it to her, and that's what just makes it more funny. But yeah, he just basically ends up going out the window and he's just like stuck to the wall. And at the same time, he has like a comic book that basically shows what's actually happening to him since people made a comic book of Spider-Man's past. Did he publish that or something? Did Peter Parker actually publish that? Yeah, that's kind of funny. And oh man, I think because I am kind of missing something that's important. So basically, this is when it gets into spoilers. So yeah, spoiler warning: Spider-Man dies. Yeah, well, this universe is Spider-Man. So basically, after the scene where he gets bit, he basically ends up. Well, it's actually after he finds out what's actually happening to him, but he hasn't really got his powers properly. He's just like he's starting to get stuck to things, but he doesn't like have the web stuff yet. And then there's the scene where he basically goes back to the place where he got his powers from, and sees the same spider, but then ends up seeing Spider-Man fight Green Goblin and a few other villains. And basically, Kingpin is trying to do something where it'll, like it's kind of connected to the multiverse thing as well. Because yeah, it's kind of like a machine that will. Well, I can't talk about this now since I'm talking about spoilers now. So, and I'm probably gonna go through the movie a lot more faster. So, yeah, basically a machine that actually brings all the characters to the same universe. And when that happens, if they stay there for too long, they'll basically get incinerated. I mean, they'll basically disintegrate. Yeah. And what Kingpin's trying to do is bring back his family since the Spider-Man that dies actually, like when Kingpin, like one time when Kingpin's fighting Spider-Man, his family sees him sees Kingpin for the kind of person that he actually is, and they just run away. And since then, like, he's just had a huge grudge on Spider-Man because they didn't just run away. Like, while they was running away, they basically get hit by a car, and I think that's when I was in the kind of they basically ended up in a car accident. Yeah, when I was trying to drive away from Kingpin, and they end up getting killed. So he blamed Spider-Man for that. And when it gets to the point where Spider-Man's, we're just seeing him be a hero like he's always been, as we've always known him, he basically ends up losing. And Miles Morales is like right in this as well. And I guess in Spider-Man's last breath, he gives him the chip that's important to stopping this machine, because if this machine, does its thing, like it could destroy the whole world, basically. And I just don't know if it destroys that world or will it affect the other worlds, but their machine is in that world, so probably just that world. But yeah, they kind of start it, but then it gets stopped. But since Spider-Man took out the chip, but that when it did happen, like when the machine was winning, before Spider-Man stopped it, it still brought multiple Spider-Man to that universe. Yeah, and I have no idea if, well, no, they would have came to Aunt May before Spider-Man actually got to see him, because in that moment he dies by Kingpin. He takes him out, and then like one of the soldiers, Prowler, which if you've read the Spider-Man Miles Morales comics, that's actually, oh, I think, when should I say? I'm just gonna say it now, since I've just talked about spoilers, and I just want to get through things faster now. But yeah, Prowler is basically Owen's, is basically Owen, yeah. Like, just find out it was Owen, like damn, you know, Miles Morales, his uncle. That was a big reveal for me because I am read the comics. Yeah, that was a big surprise, and the music they used as well. Like damn, big reveal. Because they possibly do that in the comic as well. And I know Prowler's in the new Spider-Man game, and I heard there's going to be an emotional scene as well. So if it's on the level of the stuff that we see in Spider-Man PS4, yeah, it's probably going to be a sad scene, probably more sad than what actually happens in this movie. Because man, the stuff we got with the Spider-Man PS4 game with two characters, wow, just such a great story in that PS4 Spider-Man game. So I can imagine. But yeah, because when Prowler finally catches up to Spider-Man, and this is at the point where they all end up in Aunt May's house. That's when Prowler finds Spider-Man and gets the chip. Well, Miles Morales Spider-Man, and that's when he's starting to get more used to his powers. And then it's revealed that Prowler is his. Wait, when does he actually find out again? Oh yeah, he finds out before that fight. Yeah, because he takes his mask off, which people tend to take off their mask a lot in this movie. Yeah, even the Spider-Man from the other universe, the thought is, I don't know. Should I just call him older Spider-Man or Uncle Spider-Man? I don't even know what to call him. I just feel like calling him Uncle Spider-Man because he's more experienced. He has more experience than all of these people, all of these Spider-Men that we see in the movie. He definitely lives longer than the Spider-Man that dies as well. But yeah, I also didn't really talk much about how Miles Morales got inspired from the Spider-Man from his universe's Last World, which also that Spider-Man's actually blonde, and I kind of like how the Spider-Man from the other universe kind of mentions that. Like, it's just so handsome and stuff. He's so handsome. Yeah, funny. And this Spider-Man's just like from the other universe, the Uncle Spider-Man. I just like to call him that. He's more fat. He has the brown hair that we know mostly for having brown hair. Just because we just find out a lot of stuff what happened. So basically, wait, what actually happened again? Because I know something bad happened that made him break up with Mary Jane, and he definitely didn't want to have kids with her because something happens related to that. And he just gets depressed and stuff. He gets fat. He even starts to do save less people as well. Like, seems like he just sits back a lot. Just let the cops handle it. Yeah, it just seems like it gets to that point. But yeah, this kid kind of makes him feel like, man, I definitely don't want to have kids. Well, at first, and that feels kind of harsh. But since he's Spider-Man, he quickly gets out of that and wants to help Miles Morales. Because even though there was a line where he would actually in a way, he basically said he'll actually let everyone die in this universe to get back to his universe. He quickly and very quickly, changed his mind and wanted to help Miles Morales, and then becomes like a great teacher to him and all that. Like, we get some really good stuff with Uncle Spider-Man. It still feels funny that I call him that. Yeah, yeah, that's a good like arc to the movie. Probably the best. Anyway, there's kind of two uncles to this movie. We've got Uncle Spider-Man and then Uncle Owen. Yeah, yeah, and obviously, well, what can I even? Because they both kind of, they both kind of teach him in a way. Well, more Spider-Man than Owen, but the technique of the hey technique kind of comes in later on to defeating the villain. So yeah, and he was good to him. It just sucks that it turned out to be his uncle. Like he was working for Kingpin, and also he gets killed when Kingpin realizes that maybe they're related. So just like that. Also, the dad, like he also finds the dead body as well. So he just has a grudge on the Spider-Man that he probably thinks kills him, which kind of reminded me. Yeah, that kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 2. When Harry sees his father, and it just goes like, "What have you done?" Well, that's Spider-Man 1, right? Oh yeah, that's Spider-Man 1. Sorry, yeah. When Spider-Man just brings his father, yeah, his father's corpse, and Harry sees that, and he just hits Spider-Man for that. So that kind of reminded me of that, and that's in the Tobey movies anyway. My favorite ones. Well, Spider-Man 3. Yeah, that's the thing with Spider-Man 3, but we'll save that for another day when I actually review it. Yeah. So back to this movie. So yeah, he basically, well, both of them basically go to Aunt May, and then they meet other Spider-Men. So we have the Gwen Stacy Spider-Man. She basically was bit by a spider. She actually saved her father, but her best friend Peter Parker died. And then there's Penny Parker. Yeah, it's Penny Parker. She's kind of like a Japanese Spider-Man, and she's from a much huger year than the 2099 Spider-Man. Which I have to say, like, he comes later in at the end. Well, he basically comes at the end of the movie. So who knows if they do more of him in the sequel? But we just get the funny scene from him, and I'm just gonna mention it now. Yeah, where he travels back in time to the 60s Spider-Man. The classic one. What I used to watch that back in the day. Yeah, the 60s Spider-Man, where that classic theme tune comes from. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever I can. Yeah, Spider-Man. Yeah, can he swim from a web? Yeah. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Yeah, that's Spider-Man. I would have been better off playing it than trying to sing it because I just failed. Yeah. But yeah, like just seeing that scene where they're just pointing at you, yeah, pointing at you alone. It's just so funny. I can't even talk properly right now. I just got so much in my head because this movie, like, it just packs so much into the Spider-Man universe. So my head's just kind of packed right now, and I just know I'm not going to be able to cover everything in this review, and I don't want it to go on for too long. So yeah, it just packs so much of what we love about Spider-Man and all the different Spider-Men that has been, and yeah, my head's just like packed when I watch this movie. Like when I watched it the first time as well. Yeah, I just had so much in my head because this just gives you so much. Like it's such a great Spider-Man movie. And if you still hadn't seen it, it's like on Netflix now, so you should definitely check it out. And I'm kind of talking about spoilers now, so if you've never read the comic or something, you now know that Prowler, the villain that you'll see through the movie, is actually Miles Morales' uncle. So I did say spoilers anyway. So, but if you're still gonna watch it, yeah, watch it on Netflix. I definitely recommend it. It was good watching this again 2 years later. It's already been 2 years. Same with Infinity War. It's already been 2 years since I watched that. Like, wow. But yeah. Also, yeah, so Penny Parker. So like I said, she's a Japanese. I feel like she's a Japanese girl, and her father basically died. But did he like leave the robot or something? Because I just can't remember how that origin story goes. But I don't know if like the robot lives on in the father's memory or something. Like he left the robot for her. But there is the spider thing inside of it, which we see at the end what she takes out, but has to leave the robot behind when it gets defeated by Scorpion. And I kind of like the scene where Scorpion and Miles Morales are talking in Spanish together because Miles Morales is half Spanish. So yeah, that was a cool scene. I didn't even notice that the first time when I watched this movie because this movie had a lot to take in. But yeah, when it comes to oh man, the other two Spider-Man in the movie, other than Gwen Stacy and the Japanese Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, whatever I should call it. There's the Noir one. When I first watched the movie, yeah, he was my favorite. He's just the cool one, more darker. Yeah, he was a cool Spider-Man. He just seemed really skilled as well. And if I ever play that Spider-Man game where there's multiple Spider-Man, I can't wait to play his parts. But yeah, rewatching this movie because when I first watched this movie, Spider-Man Noir was my favorite, but oh man, watching it for the second time, it's Spider-Ham. Yeah, he's such a funny character, and he definitely kicks ass. And that line at the end, that's all, folks, just perfect. And oh yeah, the scene. I have to say the scene. When Miles Morales' roommate basically comes in, like they basically try to hide up on the wall because they're basically in Miles Morales' room, and he just looks up, and the Ham just says something about are animals supposed to talk in this universe because that will probably freak him out. And then he just he just passes out. Yeah, that's the scene at the bottom left. Yeah, yeah, Spider Ham. Yeah, he's the best when it comes to the different universes ones. And the uncle Spider Man was a great teacher too. He eventually goes on, yeah, because at first he just seems like maybe he's gonna be a Spider Man that I don't really like that much, but then like he quickly just goes on me. Yeah, we get good scenes with them, like a kind of father relationship in a way. But I'd lean more to uncle than father since he already has a father in the movie. And the father does know that they're starting to drift away, so he still tries to connect with him even after finding out what. Wait, because yeah, I think that was after the uncle died as well, and the father was going to tell him what happened. But yeah, he was kind of like holding it off because he just cared about staying close with Miles Morales at that point because he doesn't really want their relationship to drift away after what happened with him and his brother. Because what if like one day something happens to Miles, he'll just feel guilty or say something happened to him. Yeah. So he just wants to stay close and that he loves Miles. And it's just good that they make up in at the end basically, because we don't get a scene with them where they actually make up with each other, or is that just when it's actually Miles Morales when he hugs him? Because I'd be like, who is this guy hugging me? But I'd kind of think like, wouldn't he realize that's his son? Like, come on. I know he's wearing a mask, but still, come on. But yeah. Okay, what else am I not covering? I don't know if I've got everything. And how much time have I got left? Oh yeah, I need to 3 minutes. Then I need to end this review because I need to go help out some people on GTA. So yeah. All right, so yeah, it's definitely a great Spider-Man movie. If I'm actually counting it to the Spider-Man movies, I'd probably put it in. Oh man, that's kind of hard. Yeah, I definitely say I like this more than Far From Home. Definitely, this is better than Far From Home because of all the content we get of Spider-Man. It's just so great. Definitely made people see how good Miles Morales was as Spider-Man. But it's kind of like his own Spider-Man, like I said before. So yeah. Also the scene, the leap of faith scene. Yeah, you just got to take a leap of faith. That's what the Uncle Spider-Man says, and then that's what he does, and truly becomes Miles Morales Spider-Man at that point. Where we just the image at the bottom, white, yeah, and then you just hear that music, yeah, just perfect scene. Yeah, that was like hype scene. And then we get to the end of the movie where they're fighting all the villains. Also, I forgot to mention the Doc Ock in this movie. They made it female, which was a cool choice. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Definitely, a unique choice. Also changing Oscorp to I can't remember how you even say the name, but yeah, you could kind of think like maybe that's Oscorp, and but it was hard. I didn't even think that was going to be basically Doc Ock. But then when she reveals herself as a Octavia, it's like, oh, that's Doc Ock. Yeah, yeah, she was cool. We got some cool scenes with her. And then at the end, when we seen more fight, like that was cool too. Yeah, that was awesome. And I guess Miles and Gwen kind of have like a good friendship with each other. Maybe in the future in the movies, I don't know if they'll get romantic, but it seems like they're hinting on that. But yeah, they basically gets them all back home. Yeah, and then like there's a scene where, cause it gets to a point where Spider-Man was willing to, the Uncle Spider-Man was willing to sacrifice himself because he hasn't really got anything waiting back home for him because of how things ended up with him and Mary Jane. And you can kind of see when he's sneaking into that place, like he definitely there's definitely things that he wanted to say to you know Mary Jane that he didn't really get to say. And it kind of sucks we don't really get to see him possibly making up with Mary Jane, but he probably does, yeah. Because yeah, he was actually going to stay, but Miles Morales convinces him to go back home and that he can handle you know Wilson Fisk, which he does. He defeats him using his hey technique, and then he just gets electrocuted, and then it just spins him around and then throws him under the device, and it stops it. Just perfect way to end the movie. Yeah, definitely a great Spider-Man movie. Because there's not like, is there actually any other Spider-Man animated movies? Yeah, we have plenty of animated DC movies, but we don't really have much, you know, Marvel animated movies. We haven't really got a lot. And when it comes to the live action movies, that's where Marvel tends to do their best. And with this was a huge surprise for me, man. I wasn't expecting such an awesome animated movie like this. Just wow. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a great watch if you haven't seen it before, and I highly recommend it. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for my review. In the future, I'll be reviewing the Tobey movies, basically the Sam Raimi movies of Spider-Man, my favorite ones, my favorite Spider-Man. Yeah, forever. And I can't wait to review those ones. I guess someday I could review the Tom Holland ones. It's just that the Andrew Garfield ones, oh god, oh god, that's I don't know when I'm gonna do that, but yeah. But yeah, I just hope to play the Miles Morales Spider-Man game in the future. Well, it will be in next month or later this month. But yeah, I'll be playing some of the other Spider-Man games. I don't know if I'll play more of the Web of Shadows one. I'm definitely going to play some PS4 Spider-Man to get the DLCs done before I play the new game. And I guess I'll revisit my favorite Spider-Man game, the 2002 one, which is the Tobey one, basically the movie game. Yeah. And maybe a few others what are similar to this one, where there's multiple Spider-Men. Yeah, I'd like to play that one on the channel. Yeah. But yeah, that's it for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the review. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.